And hello. We are back again. We are so happy to see you. We have some really great messages for you tonight from Beyond. We're going to talk about messages after the threshold, also known as near death experiences or NDEs. A lot of people have crossed over, have learned a lot of great lessons, are bringing back wonderful messages, and we are here to share those messages with you, have a conversation about it, and just all learn and grow together from what they are telling us. So, the first person I'm going to bring on tonight is Harita. We also have Holden in London. Hello.
Hello.
So glad to see everybody. So glad everybody could join us this evening. To start us off, Harita, what do you have to share?
So I kind of have a lot, you guys. Um, because this is just such a fascinating topic. And for me, I think I'll get a little personal because starting out as a kid, um, I've always known that there were kind of other entities out here, and I'll just say God because vividly remember having those conversations with somebody that wasn't there. No, I'm not crazy. I just remember having
Mhm.
those type of conversations and felt loved and cared for. So I don't necessarily remember what the conversation was about, but maybe it's this journey that I've been on for quite some time, and it's probably why I'm sitting here talking about this right now. So I have like three different things I'm going to kind of talk about. The first is my grandmother. So, and I wrote stuff down so I won't forget because I really wanted. So, my grandmother was at home, and she was very sick, and this was my dad's mother. And so I would go into her room often, and just checking on her to see how she's doing. And there was at this point where she was responding very little to
Hmm.
anything. She was just in that state that I knew would probably eventually be the transitional state, right?
Mhm.
So one day I went back in the room and I was checking on her and I heard her calling out these names, right? I was like, okay, I don't know who these people are. So I went in the kitchen. My dad and my uncles, two uncles, were there, right? He was like his play brother, but they grew up with us and called. It was our Uncle Rob, my dad, and Uncle Luke. They are all in the kitchen. And I went in and I said, "Who is this? And who is this?" They were talking. And you could hear the pin drop. And they all looked at me and were like, where are you getting this from? How would you know those names? They had looked like they had seen a ghost when I walked in, yes, and asked them those names, right? And so that's a different type of near death experience because they say that your ancestors come to get you,
Hmm.
right? When you're near death. And that's exactly what was happening. But I just happened to be in the room when she was calling out those names at
Right.
that time. And when I
Wow,
went to ask them,
Wow.
yeah,
that is cool.
isn't it? That it is. I thought it was really cool. So remember my movie I always talk about, Mr. Plankton.
Yes.
So there is a scene in Mr. Plankton, and I wrote this down right after the movie because I knew it was so profound, which goes with everything that I have just been talking about. And the scene goes like that: he's out, him and his girlfriend. They're they're on the hood of his car because he's about to die too. Anyway, they're on the hood of the car and they're looking up at the stars wherever they are. You can see the Milky Way, everything. So he says, "You see those stars up there we're looking at right now?" He said, "Do you think they're still alive?" He said, just think about it. Those stars are somewhere out in the universe, very far from here. So he said, we're not seeing the actual stars, just the light that has reached the earth. He said, and if a star is really far away, well, I heard it takes billions of years for its light to get all the way to earth. So a lot of the stars die before their light even reaches us. He said it's interesting. A star that is already dead is no longer existing, but yet its light still shines. That's mind blowing to me.
That is
Yeah.
crazy. But that's an awesome
Yeah.
concept to think about.
That's something that you need to think. It light still shines. And so what
Mhm.
he's saying is, so when you look at the sky at night, he said boundaries between life and death becomes utterly meaningless. And that's what happens when these people have these near death experiences. That's why it's so hard for them to come back to this place that we think is wonderful. And what they're saying, no, that place out there in the stars, the woo woo, that's the wonderfulness.
Right.
That's
Right.
why they don't want to come back. So that's my near death stuff.
Okay.
Hey, thank you for sharing.
Like that.
That was cool.
Like that.
No, but I know that you had said that before, and I hit somebody with that probably a week ago, and they're like, "That's a crazy concept to think that that star no longer exists, but yet we're still looking at its light."
Yes, no longer exists.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's
Wow.
far away. Yeah.
That is far away. Light travel. So, what do we think about? What do you think the main message is when they come back? I think there's only one main message. You can watch 20 NDE documentaries, podcasts, whatnot, and they're all going to say one thing that is exactly the same. What is that?
Love, real love.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest part of it.
Yeah.
And one thing that he actually said, the guy that told the story is that's why we don't remember when we're here on this earth, because he said we will be jumping off buildings every day because we will be trying to get back to that type of love.
Right. Yeah. I thought it was really interesting because today I watched one just before our episode. It was someone I hadn't seen before as an NDE person, but have seen him before on a show called Sightings. I don't think I realized he had died and come back.
Oh,
But oh my gosh, he was sharing so much information that, I mean, because I've watched a lot of this stuff. I'm just going to put it out there. Is that could be, if I'm riding in a car, I very well may be listening to a podcast about NDE. Why do I do that? It's because they bring back such great messages about how to live and exist here on Earth. They
yes.
remind us why we're here, why we're going through the things that we're going through, how we created a lifeline for ourselves with the experiences that we're experiencing to expand our spirit and grow. Sometimes I need to be reminded of that. Like, why am I going through this? I don't ever have that woe is me, but I do get frustrated at points. And then I have to remember I did this to myself with the idea that I'm going to grow from this. I'm going to become a bigger, better, more shiny spirit by the time I get back. And but he was saying, once again, we just had a podcast about natural healing and herbs, how he was dying and he was in the hospital and they just give him more penicillin, more this, more that. And he died, and God had shared with him, or universal flow, whatever you want to call that energy that created all of us, how to heal himself through herbs and oils and food and all of that stuff. He said when he came back, he was nothing but a bag of bones, and he was trying to tell them how to heal him. Everybody just kept saying he's crazy, he's crazy. He said that he could now hear the thoughts of the nurses. And so he had a friend, and he was sending the friend out to get the herbs and the oils and the foods and sneak it back into the hospital so he could do the things that Source had told him to do. Now, those things started healing him enough for him to check himself out of the hospital before he was supposed to leave. And they said, you know how they make you sign all the paperwork, you know, you're not supposed to leave, but we're going to let you leave. He said after he got out and did all the things that Source had told him to do, he now could walk, he now could see, he now could do all of the things that God promised him he'd be able to do. God told him he was going to do seminars and teach healing and do this and that and the other thing. And in the hospital, he could not even go to the bathroom for himself. So once he got out and was executing all of the instructions that Source told him to do, he became a full human again and now can do everything and more than he was ever supposed to do, because they told him he was not going to live beyond 3 weeks.
Wow.
So he just was talking about he belonged to a group afterwards because no one understood him. No one understood his experience. Nobody really believed him. And if they did, they got tired of him talking about it and obsessed about it. So he joined a group where all of these other people who had near-death experiences could come and share and compare notes and, you know, talk about the love and the feeling and the colors and the this and the that. And it made him feel like he was understood. But he said that there was a woman there that was had a husband who was a Baptist minister. And she no longer believed in religion after her near-death experience because of all the things she learned on the other side. When she came back, her husband forbid her to speak to any of the congregation about her experience and told her to keep her silence and her craziness to herself.
Wow.
Said that they are still married, but they just don't even live in the same universe. And that many, many, many of the people that he knew in that group have either committed suicide, sorry, I call it sideways, have committed suicide, have gone through divorces. And some of them, just the marriages are so strained because the person that did not go the other side cannot even relate anymore to that spouse who has crossed over and came back.
Yeah.
I just think that the experience, I can't even imagine. I can't imagine going there and coming back.
Yeah.
And they say, you know, once you cross over, you are so enamored and so enraptured with love that even though all the people that you have here, you love them, you're their mom, you're their dad, sister, whatnot, all of that fades away.
Yeah, that's that the guy that I was talking about earlier said he did not remember for the first 24 hours because he think he would have just ran himself into a brick wall or whatever so he could go back, because he just did not want to, you know, be here without that type of love, especially what he had gone through. And another thing he also said was he had to find, and he did find the paramedic, which is, this is very interesting, because he just wanted to thank him or do something for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said he found the paramedic eventually because they were asking, you know, he was asking people about him, but he remembered his first initial and the last name because the paramedic who was a rookie, was about to get fired because he broke protocol.
Right.
And saved his life. Can you believe that? To get fired.
Wow.
Yeah, and so he, I think, became a think he became a firefighter eventually. But here's the paramedic. He did find him. He met with him, and he just wanted to thank him and like at least buy him lunch. And the guy was like, "No, don't buy me lunch or anything like that," because the guy said he really didn't even recall who he was. But he said he started telling him a little bit about the story, like he could hear his thoughts, and he was telling him things that he knew that the paramedic knows happened. But guess what
Mhm.
the paramedic did? He said, "This lunch is over."
Oh wow.
So a person who is saving lives didn't even believe. Didn't even believe.
Wow.
Yet you did everything to save this man. You knew he was, you know, said he was dead when you arrived,
Right.
Mhm.
and
That's wow.
you went through additional steps and things that your protocol said you shouldn't do. Hence, you about to get fired. So,
That is insane.
Mhm.
isn't it? So our belief systems, man, they have a grip on us like a mother.
Has a lot to do with
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
Holden, I know you have a lot to say about this. I know you know a lot about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, hmm. Well, I'll go back to the point where you were saying, or one of you was saying that the the husband was a pastor and he didn't want the stories to flow through the congregation. From what I've seen in these stories, that the organized religion part was not the key to the whole idea of what's going on after you go to the other side.
Correct.
It's not necessarily going to church every Sunday. Not that that's bad. People, some people like it, but that's not the ticket to get to what you want in the other side anyway.
Hmm.
And I, from what I gathered, it's really, it's really just your own personal journey and just to really be loving to everyone as much as you can. That's what I see. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily, yeah, going to church and reading the Bible. It's not about that really. That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think it's an interesting thing, like not even wanting to come back to your family here.
Yeah.
It's not that you don't love them like you did, but like you said, you experience a love so strong on that side. I guess no one here could understand that, and I could see that messing up marriages and, like you said, divorce and all that stuff. Because it was like, yeah, you still love these people or these souls or whatever, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I'd say it's not so much, it's your whole family that's on the other side as well, your
All right.
ancestors and such, from not just this life, but
Yeah.
from so
Yeah.
many. And so I feel like that's a big part of what people are feeling. But when we come here, it's very specific because we come here to learn certain things. We're here to measure. We're here to be able to bring a piece of something back that we can create with. I think that's a big reason why we come here, is to learn so we can go create up there. So
Probably feels like going back to Windows 95. You're like, man, this sucks.
yeah,
This is horrible.
this is the
You know,
this is the work.
there's a lot more than this. I know that. You know.
But what's happening is that there's a part of our mind, and that's our right brain, the subconscious brain, that's
Mhm.
always connected to this. And it's constantly talking to us and giving us messages. And it all depends on how focused you can get on listening to that voice. And there's a, I was, I didn't think of this at all, but last night I watched this video. And since we're talking about this, it's kind of different, but it's almost the same thing. There's this theory on consciousness called the bicameral mind, and that is saying it brings up a point to like about 1,000 years ago to 1,200 years ago. There's a big split in consciousness, where before was the golden era where everyone says the gods were with us and all that, and after that era we become more conscious. Like there's way more in writing, and we express ourselves a lot more and all these things. So what the theory is saying is that what happened is that we became self-aware as a people. Our consciousness grew, but what happened when our consciousness grew, we disconnected from our right side of our brain, the brain that speaks in the spirit world. We're less connected to that, so people lost their ability to speak to the gods. And the kings would say the gods don't speak to me anymore. All these things were happening during that time, and it's the reason there's a study on it is because there was just such a difference in the consciousness shift that it almost seems like there was a difference in us being able to speak to the spirit world. And now we don't have the same connection, but that's not to say that it's gone. I think it's just the world we live in, and it's a conscious choice you have to make to listen to that part of your brain. I feel like I'm learning more about it every day. And I also wanted to say, so when this is kind of off topic a bit, but it still has to do with this. There's now we have schizophrenic people. We call them schizophrenic people who hear voices, and we usually put them on drugs in mental homes, and they say they hear the government talking to them, the FBI. But if this were set 1,200 years ago, we maybe would have called them an oracle, and they wouldn't have been saying the FBI. They would be saying Zeus is talking to me. And we had very famous oracles back then what oracles came after the split in consciousness, though, because there was fewer people with the ability to still have that connection. And so we were seeking out oracles. We were seeking out all sorts of ways to get this connection back. People were splitting goats open and reading intestines, all sorts of things just to get back to where we were. But nowadays we have schizophrenic people who may be in connection with that side of their mind. I'm sure now it's mixed in with so much of our culture that it may be more confusing or not as straightforward. But I think there's a link there to what that used to how it links back to the bicameral mind with us having that connection. So since I didn't really have anything, that's just something that I recently watched that I think that has kind of a connection to having that out of body experience. I think that it's a it just opens your mind to a connection that is there. And I think it's actually in all of us. It's just hard for us to break down that wall and that boundary of just the reality that we live in. So that's kind of what I've got from all this, my ideas. I also just one more thing. When I have my own experience. It's not a near-death experience, but I feel like I was able to connect to source one time, and it was almost like how they how people they can see things where they're not. So they can, I forgot what it's called, but they can visualize things when they're not in the same room. And so I was with my brother and my uncle, and it was me, maybe someone else we were playing cards, and we had a deck of cards, and I don't know what it was, but for some reason we were playing some game, and I was guessing the cards on top, and I was just gonna guess all the cards. I said, I'm gonna just pull the card off the top and I'll guess it. There was no tricks or magic. I didn't handle the cards at all. He had the cards completely, so there's no like, I can do magic tricks with cards, so that's not what I was doing. So I just like had this weird feeling where I didn't feel like I wasn't consciously in the room. I was like just seeing this one thing in my mind, which was the card, the number. And so he would say, or he would pull a card off, he'd look at it, and I knew it. And this was for like 6 or 7 cards in a row, just me calling the card and the name. And then, it stopped working when I started to think about it. I started to enter the room. I started to think, how am I doing this? I started second guess myself. I'd see 6 and be like, oh, whatever, and just say something. But that's when I started messing up. So I got into some sort of flow.
Mental telepathy.
Yeah, where I was able to just, it was like recalling a memory almost. It was just,
wow.
So yeah, it was kind of a weird moment. But I haven't seen anything on near-death experiences, but I'll definitely go back and watch some now. I think it'd be really interesting. But that's all I have to say.
Like that really does change your life, though. It changes your outlook in life. I know I sent one to Holden with a woman from Jamaica. Remember that one, Holden?
A woman from Jamaica?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I listened to a few of hers. But another main thing I've seen with people talking about this is that they have people looking out for them that they never knew, and their timelines don't connect at all.
Mm-hmm.
But down the line, yeah, they say ancestors looking out for you that you never even knew.
Yeah.
Because on the near-death experience that I was talking about, the guy actually, like I said, is way more to the story, but his grandmother had heard him tell this story, and they were somewhere and they were looking at something on a screen or some kind of reunion or something, and he saw the guide. The Drake guy, he saw him on screen, and his wife knew, and his wife said, "That's your guy, right?" And yeah, these were from old stuff they were looking at. So he asked his grandmother, because it was a different name on there, like his name was Charles something, but the grandmother's last name. And he said he went and asked his grandmother, and the grandmother said, "Oh, so you're talking about Drake?" Just like this happened to me. The grandmother said, "You're talking about Drake?" Drake was like his great grandfather or something. So that's what you're talking about, London, how those ancestors are over there. And he ended up reading some type of note that was left. Like, I mean, this was great grandson. I'm assuming 1900s or something like that. A note that he ended up reading from his great grandfather, Drake, who said that his mission when he comes back would be to tell the story and help his people on the other side. that's the reason I can remember this story, because it's just so
many twists and turns of synchronicities.
so many synchronicities, and that's just not something that people make up like that, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the other thing that's super important to talk about, because, and once again, I understand that people need religion and that's great, but those religions who preach hell on a weekly basis, if you understand how much you love your child here in the now, in the present, if you were to understand the love of Source itself, of God Himself on the other side, you would know that there is nothing that you could do to sever yourself from God's love, from your Father's love, from your Creator's love. And I think that's so important. Have people had hell experiences through NDE? Yes, I've seen a couple of them. But they also fiercely believed in hell, believed in the devil, believed maybe even that the devil had a hold of them. But they created the experience themselves. Then when they call out for God, they become one with God in heaven again. I think it's just such a mindset, such a fear is locked in so deeply to who they are here on earth that it transitions into the soul, and the soul forgets. Of course, like you said, if we all remembered, we would try to be killing ourselves here and now. They go back and then they remember. And they also, a lot of those people who have dementia, who have Alzheimer's, who have all of those diseases, they actually go into an area where they are healed and brought back into full spirit.
Yeah.
So that they can take advantage of, or, be one with the blessings of their expansion. I mean, there's so many things so many different stories. There's one lady I can honestly say I did not resonate with at all. She was telling the same story as most people who I watched, but she was a gamer, like in the human life. So when she went back, she crossed over to the other side. The things that she was feeling and seeing was, yes, pure love, pure joy, oneness with all things. The colors are great. I'm one with the grass and the trees and anything and everything around me. But she said she saw herself preparing for this lifetime in which she was in. And some of you may have seen it because it's just such a different way of telling the story. She was like in some kind of supermarket dash, with the little cart running down the aisles, grabbing all of the things that she wanted to experience in life, and all the boxes and all of the traumas and all of this stuff, and that the boxes are falling out and she wants to put them back in. And her guide on that side is like, I think you're overdoing it. I think this is too much. And she's like, no, I can handle everything. I can do it, And then she gets in this life, and her life is pure trauma. And obviously you don't remember the ambition and the energy you had coming into this life. And she's like traumatized out. So when she did die, they took her back and showed her, you chose this stuff.
Yeah.
You said you could handle it. This is where you're at in life. You got to go back. You've got to finish this journey. Or I think it was in this story, you can go ahead and cross over, but here's your cart full of this stuff now, and you're going to have to start all the way back over as a baby and go through all this again.
Put some of those groceries back, girl. Put them back on the shelf.
So she said she didn't want to start over again. She didn't want to start as a child going through all that stuff. I mean, she had sexual trauma. She had everything. And so she came back, and she's a completely different person, and she obviously looks at life completely differently, and she speaks to people all the time and helps heal them emotionally and mentally, especially when they've gone through all the trauma. But it's such an eye-opening experience to hear the messages that they're bringing back, not only of just love, but how things work, and don't stress so much. And this is the hardest school you can possibly be in. And it takes a special soul to come to Earth, to experience Earth. This is like the highest, fastest growing thing, school that there is, because there's thousands of planets out there that we could have chose to go to, and there's all kinds of different experiences that we could have had, but we chose to incarnate as humans on Earth, the hardest school that there possibly can be. And here we are.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's out of this world, quite literally. But I think the one thing that we all have to remember is that my son told me today, I think it was today, it's not that serious. You're going to get through it.
Yeah. Like Drake.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You got through worse.
Yeah.
Like Drake.
It'll be all right.
It's all a test.
It
It's all
is.
a test.
I think for me too, it's just I'm gonna be, or I am so much more attuned and aware, like every day I get up and I think it's to listen intently, because your prayers you're asking and you're receiving is in meditation, so listen intently. That's growth in solitude and quietness.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's also important to realize there's something to listen for.
Yes.
You're not just floating around. You do have spirit guides, you have angels, you have God, you have your ancestors, you have, just be quiet and listen.
Yes.
And then remember to trust.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of my big things, is that when I'm going through a moment and I'm in prayer and I may be on the floor, the biggest thing is don't just ask for solutions, be able to listen for the answers and be able to trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
The guy also put it, he said one way to look at it is like you're in a Starbucks line and you're giving your order. Then you go up to the window and you have to pay, right? He said a lot of people, give their order and they just keep going. They don't stop. They don't pay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They don't show gratitude.
They don't show gratitude. That's it. They don't stop and pay. They just keep going.
I also heard today they were saying when you go to a restaurant, you order like egg, sausage, grits, whatever, and you don't think for a minute that that's not what's going to come to you.
Right.
He said you are talking to source and all things. Put in your order, but equally so, don't doubt that that's what's going to come to you.
Yeah.
It's this much doubt leads a way to make the path so much more treacherous and difficult, or it won't come at all, just because you have more faith in your restaurant order than you do in God.
Woo!
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Something else that another person said that really, really, really sticks with me. She said, be a living prayer. There are so many people praying for things, and there are times that you just go do things for other people that you don't think is a big deal. You might help that person on the street by giving them $3. You might help an elderly person by reaching up and grabbing something off the shelf because they're in the little chair driving around. You may, they were just saying all these different things that you may do that you just do it. You don't think about it. but you are the answer to that person's prayer. And they said, look for people who need their prayers fulfilled, to actively be a living prayer. And I just thought, I love that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Especially
You know what?
like that one.
You know what I do sometimes. I think just simple things as just complimenting people sometimes,
Yes.
yeah.
and I literally watch them just light up,
Yeah,
smile, just like they could have a total blank face. You do that, and that helps their whole day. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
that's
So
true.
I love it when someone does it for me. It's just,
Yeah, people don't do
you
it
know,
enough. People
yeah,
don't.
a little compliment can really brighten up someone's day.
Nah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, you gotta tell someone when they're, when they look good, or not in a weird way, but just like, complimenting someone if they're like, I work at a restaurant. If I make a pizza and I hear, it's rare that someone will say, "Oh, thank the cook. This is really good," or blah blah. But when I do hear that, I'm like, that'll make my job so much
Yes.
easier. It makes my job so much easier. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, if you notice, if I notice a change in somebody that's good, I'll say, "Hey, your hair looks great," or that, and they're, thank you. That's what you hear, because I think people are afraid just to say, little things like that. But
Or they're just
Mhm.
so caught up in the moment, their own moment, they don't slow down to even
or
acknowledge.
that more that than being afraid. Yeah, you know.
Well, also those compliments that you're talking about, the society has made us afraid of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Afraid to say, something nice without some type of retaliation or weird look or like, get away from me, saying,
Yeah.
There's a proper way to go about it, for sure.
sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But do it anyway, because if you felt
Mhm.
called to do it.
Yeah,
Don't walk around
Right.
here in fear.
yeah.
Well, there is a comedian that we were watching last night, and it was funny because it was so true. He was like, back in the 1960s and 70s, people would just wait for people to knock at the door because they have company and they got their special cake they're going to serve to their company. And they get so excited. And then, like, they'll be watching TV and it's dark and someone knocks on the door and they're like, turn on the lights. We've got company. And everybody, kids slide up to the door in their socks, like, woo. And he's like, and now just let somebody knock on the door. Just
Right.
who the knocking on my door?
He won.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Y'all should call me.
Exactly. And you should have called. And if you're in my driveway, don't walk up to the door without calling me. I mean, but that is so much truth. And it's really, just think about it. It was the 70s, 60s, 70s, and we're in 26, just a matter of 50 years, how attitudes about community has changed.
Mhm. My friends have never gave me the luxury of sending me a text or a call.
Mhm.
They're-
Busting through the damn door.
I haven't had that experience because someone's sitting outside waiting to hang out. So
Right.
our house is just always the meetup spot. So,
Right.
But you're so right. You're so right. I think you're right about that. It's just different for me.
Right.
Mhm.
I think the other thing that I wanted to sneak in here is that one of the near-death experience podcasts, the lady said, learn how to make love to people. And she's like, I'm not talking about in a sexual way. I'm talking about creating a moment of love between two people, even if it's the cashier, being polite enough to put your phone down, acknowledge that they're doing their job, talking to them, saying thank you to them, anything that you can do to create that moment of connection. She says that changes their life, that changes your life. And then, of course, there's the ripple effect that we all see during a life review, which we haven't talked about at all, to see how what your one thing does ripples out and touches everybody else. And that's something that really touched me, because I will be the first one to say, very 99% of the time when I was going through the checkout, I would be on my phone. I would be dismissive because I was on my phone, just trying to get my groceries, just trying to go through the bank, just trying to do this. And since I watched that video, if I'm in a place like that, I now make sure I'm not on the phone when I'm going through the line. I make sure that I look at their name tag and acknowledge them by their name, ask them how they're doing, joke around with them, and create that moment to make love to that person, make that love connection with that person so that they can be seen. Because that was the one thing she said when she was on the other side, and things that were so insignificant to her, she saw how she either made someone's day or ruined someone's day with her behavior. So I think that was really important.
I'm scared to see that part.
Right.
It's a lot of good. There's some things I could have done better.
Yeah. I think that's for all of us. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm too nice to some people, they might chase me down.
what'd you say?
If I'm too nice to some people, they might chase me down.
Oh my dear Jesus.
Yeah, that's true too.
Oh my God. Men, what are we gonna do with them? Well, we have reached the hour mark already. Can't believe it. There's been so much information that was shared, so many moments. I think this conversation could have went on and on and on, because we didn't even touch the crust of what we're talking about today. Really, we've just given you an idea and hopefully inspiration to go ahead and watch some of those NDE podcasts for yourself. See what resonates with you, see what doesn't resonate with you, and what does. Please take it back to your community and to your family, and just be a better person for your own sake. We appreciate you watching us. We ask you to like, subscribe, comment, and follow. We're always here for us. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section, and we'll be sure to answer them. We want to take this time to say thank you and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.